Hello, and welcome to the Intrinio YouTube channel. I'm Rachel, CEO of Intrinio, and today we're diving into a topic that's crucial for anyone working with financial and market data, a reckoning in financial and market data APIs. This is going to be an eye-opening discussion for professional investors, fintech firms, and anyone who uses financial data in their work. So let's get started by talking about what goes into delivering high-quality financial data. When you think about financial data, it might seem simple to get a quote or chart, but behind the scenes, it's an incredibly complex process. So here's a quick overview of what it takes to build and deliver market data. First up is getting data directly from its raw source. Data providers have to source and pull data directly from exchanges like the New York Stock Exchange, regulatory bodies like the SEC, as well as public sources such as FRED. These are the raw materials of the financial data world. Once data is collected, it has to be stored securely in massive databases, ensuring that it's accessible and organized. Cleaning the data is the next critical step. The raw data often contains errors, outliers, or even structural issues. It must be cleaned, correcting these problems and ensuring that the data is accurate. Next, normalizing the data helps make the data consistent and comparable. Now, different raw sources present data in different formats, and everything must be made uniform so users can analyze it properly. Now, no data set is complete without thorough documentation, guides, and metadata. These types of materials help users understand how to access and utilize the data effectively. Now comes the delivery. Data providers must build APIs, WebSockets, and other tools to provide downloadable formats to get the data into the hands of users quickly and efficiently. But the job doesn't just end with delivering the data. Almost all data providers have to offer support, which requires them to hire staff, develop workflows, build ticketing systems, and even things like chatbots to ensure that users can solve issues as they arise. Lastly, data providers have to invest in marketing so that users, whether professional firms or individual investors, know about the data and can access it. This data product development process, sourcing, storing, cleaning, normalizing, documenting, delivering, supporting, and marketing, it's lengthy, time-consuming, and resource-heavy. Any reliable data provider has to invest in every single one of these steps. So now let's talk about the evolution of financial market data providers. Back in the day, major players like Bloomberg were pioneers. They built massive data sets by hand, relying on manual processes and legacy code, which was labor-intensive and incredibly costly. Then innovators, like us at Intrinio, stepped into the space. Using cutting-edge technology, AI, machine learning, and cloud infrastructure, we've modernized a lot of the steps in the process, bringing down costs while providing the speed and accuracy of data delivery. But there's also been a rise in cheap, too good to be true financial data providers. These companies often scrape data from unreliable sources, violate exchange rules, and can't invest in the infrastructure needed to deliver quality or support. Because they often don't pay to license data properly, provide support, or document their sources, they can sell it at extremely low prices. Here's where the problem comes in for data consumers. We've seen a flood of these newer, cheap providers who cut corners, scraping data illegally, violating regulations, and in order to keep costs low, failing to deliver reliable or high-quality data. The problem is many users don't realize how bad and unreliable that data is until it's too late. Then there's a group I call the faulty innovators. These companies try to introduce unique marketplace models or payment plans like pay per API call, bundling data sets in ways that seem like a good idea, but their business models are unsustainable and often unprofitable. And there's a delay between when people start using these cheap services and when they realize they're dealing with inaccurate data, faulty delivery, unlicensed providers, or terrible support. These cheaper providers skip a lot of steps. So let's talk about the real cost of delivering quality financial data. I want to show you a visual representation of what it takes to provide reliable data. You'll remember some of this. First, you have the baseline cost of sourcing the data. This includes staff and any fees required to access raw data. Next, you have the cost of storing data. This includes the cost of staff, database costs, which can be incredibly high as data sets grow, and other technical infrastructure costs to safely store and keep the data secure. Then there's the cost of cleaning and normalizing the data, which is essential for accuracy. This includes the cost of staff, as well as technical infrastructure and compute cost for processing data. After that comes the cost of documenting the data so that users can actually understand and access it. This, again, includes the cost of staff, website infrastructure, and hosting. Delivering the data through APIs, WebSockets, or other means adds a whole nother layer of cost. These APIs and delivery tools have to be built, which includes the cost of staff and technical infrastructure, along with hosting and storage expenses. Finally, supporting that data with customer service, documentation updates, and infrastructure maintenance, it isn't free either. You've got to add in the hefty cost of support representatives and staffing time to build out and maintain support systems. And of course, there's the cost of marketing the data so that people know it exists. These costs can all vary, but it's important to recognize that data products have to be marketed as part of the process too. Now, there's a key moment that we call an innovation trigger, where technology can help reduce these costs, particularly in areas like cleaning, normalizing, and documenting data. For example, Intrinio leverages machine learning and AI processes to normalize and clean data. This is a major innovation trigger that has helped us drastically reduce costs in the financial data space. There have also been technical innovations over the years that have reduced the cost of storing, documenting, and even supporting data customers. Modern databases, auto-generated docs, and chatbots are a few examples, but these innovation triggers result in pretty marginal cost reductions. Even with all this innovation, there is still a baseline cost to build financial and market data sets. You should see our cloud server bill. There's no way around it. Delivering high quality and reliable data takes real investment. If you find a cheap provider that isn't pricing in each of these steps and resources, they're cutting corners. And there are no corners you should be okay with cutting here. Here's the bottom line. This year, we're seeing a reckoning in the financial data space. The lag that we mentioned earlier, the time that it takes for users to realize that they can't rely on cheap data or providers to realize their models are unsustainable, it's caught up to us. Smaller data companies are shutting their doors. Financial data users are fed up with poor quality, and fees for market data are increasing. The truth is, reliable data costs money. Building and delivering data sets of any quality requires resources. There's just no shortcut to that. Cheap providers and faulty innovators are not just a nuisance. They're dangerous. Working with unreliable providers can lead to faulty investment decisions for large institutions and individual investors, jeopardizing personal wealth and putting institutional portfolios at massive risk. For example, if you use data from a provider who does not disclose the source of the data, you may find out later that you owe massive fees because the provider didn't tell you about the licenses you need to legally use the data. Be sure to ask where the data comes from and double-check the disclosures at the bottom of the provider websites for language indicating that they don't guarantee the source or the quality. So what's the solution? At Intrinio, we're continuing to innovate across that data pipeline, from sourcing and standardizing to storing and supporting. But users need to understand that there is a minimum cost for data that's actually high quality. Financial and market data users should budget accordingly and even consider raising capital to cover some of these data expenses. And for institutions like universities or research bodies, it's time to invest in organization-wide data subscriptions. Giving students and researchers access to accurate, reliable data should be a priority, and it's worth the investment to avoid relying on faulty, cheap sources. Thank you for joining me for this important discussion. If you want to learn more about how Intrinio can help provide you with reliable financial data, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave any questions or comments that you have below. Remember, when it comes to data, you truly get what you pay for. Don't compromise your financial decisions with low-quality data. Choose a provider that delivers accuracy, reliability, and innovation, like Intrinio. See you in the next video.